All right, so today I am going to work with a woman who has a very serious poverty anchor. I've worked with this woman in the past. We've already worked on her poverty anchor already. Um, we were able to release a lot of things from very early childhood that were affecting the poverty anchor. But in today's session, we're going to continue that poverty anchor and hopefully get it to the point where we can release it. So a poverty anchor, let's just go in and we can see what's here. So we're going to go into the psychological imbalance because that's where our anchors are at. You could easily test into that, but I just know exactly where it's at. So I'm going to go directly there just by clicking that little button. This is adding um, explanations to my reports. These explanations are really unique because they use NLP to trigger the innate healing ability within the mind. The human mind is so powerful and capable of healing that we want to utilize that in addition to our energy healing techniques to get a more robust healing. So it's kind of like the placebo effect. If you haven't heard about that, I recommend you Google placebo effect. But basically, very quickly, what it means is that if you're told, let's say that you have an illness, you will actually get that illness. Or if you're told that you no longer have it, your body will actually heal from it. We introduce information into our psyche, and then that information is used to regulate how our body reacts. And so we are using that to our benefit when we are utilizing NLP and doing energy sessions. So as a global energy method practitioner, you're taught how to do the actual energetic work, but also how to tap into those innate healing abilities of the subconscious mind and use neural plasticity to accentuate or elevate each and every session. So once we get here, we're looking at the poverty anchors. So I'm going to go ahead and get into these anchors. And once the screen changes. Now, I will say the software runs a bit slow while I am live and I'm using StreamYard. So while I'm live in a studio recording, then it can run a little bit slower because of that. So we're going to do a poverty anchor. In here, you can see there's cultural anchors, distress anchors, illness anchors, despair, grief. And for this particular client, we are doing a poverty anchor. By clicking this button, I add the explanation of a poverty anchor right to the report. So as you can see right here, we're building a report as we go through the session. So the poverty anchor is a collection of internal and external energies tied to limiting beliefs about wealth, often rooted in family or community conditioning. These anchors restrict our ability to embrace financial abundance and freedom. Releasing the poverty anchor helps shift our mindset towards prosperity, breaking free from scarcity consciousness and cultural limitations. This transformation fosters an abundant perspective, empowering us to welcome financial freedom, opportunities, and the ability to thrive without the constraints of past beliefs. Now, I know there's some people who believe you can just identify that someone has a poverty anchor and then you just maybe swipe your meridian and you release it. That actually is not effective. It may give a very temporary boost to the client where they can start to find themselves a little more balanced, but because the actual cause, what caused this energetic anchor, this poverty anchor, what caused that to be created in the first place, because that has not been addressed, that's just going to recreate. So they might feel better for a week or two, or even maybe a month if their poverty anchor isn't that bad, but they will always start to feel worse again. They will always start to have financial issues again for specifically the poverty anchor. So, what we are doing here is we are trying to identify exactly what it is that caused this poverty anchor to develop. because that is the thing that we need to correct in order to correct the poverty anchor. Otherwise, it's just a temporary thing. We don't want temporary fixes for our clients. We want permanent shifts. I want this woman to have an abundant life and stop having these issues. She is, let's see, she's 63 years old. This particular client has worked and worked her entire lifetime. I think since she was 14 years old, if I remember right, and she has earned the right to have something stable. And she's currently unstable and actually living homeless, even though she has a very good paying job, simply because of her financial beliefs and this poverty anchor. So let's go ahead and look and see. So what we're going to do on this screen, this is the cause by screen. If I scroll up, or actually you can see it right up here, cause by screen, right up here. All of these things potentially could cause a poverty anchor. There are quite a few here because a lot of things can cause a poverty anchor. So I'm going to go ahead and muscle test. Is it on the left? Yes. Okay. Aura, chakra, energetic accruements, disruptions. Okay, first, there's some excess energies. I have a hard time believing that this is a main concern, but a lot of times people will identify the smaller concerns before a big major concern. So, is it excess biological waste, stress energy? Okay. So, we're going to go in and we're going to look at the stress energy. These are hormones, stress hormones, and we need to go ahead and balance each one of these. Let's see which are imbalanced. And I'm just muscle testing to find out which one. Adrenaline. Okay, her cortisol. She has excess cortisol. And we don't need to do any custom identification because that's pretty self-explanatory. I could go in and find out how long that's been going on, but I'm going to do that within the correction because this is something that sometimes we can release it right away, sometimes we can't, or correct it. You have a custom correction here. So I'm going to go ahead and find out how long is her cortisol. Has she had excess cortisol or cortisol imbalances? She's had it prior to this particular situation is 30 around the age of 38, present since the age of 38. Now she may have had excess cortisol previous to that, but this specific cortisol that's affecting her financially has been present since the age of 38. So what we're going to do to correct it is I am going to balance the cortisol energy. Let me do that just a second. Okay, I am also going to optimize cortisol usage within the body. I want to make sure that the cortisol she is creating is being utilized properly. So let me do that correction. She's very, very willing to accept that. All right. And then let's see, maybe do we need to do anything else with this? Okay, we don't need to do anything else with this. So within the global energy method, we do a lot of different types of corrections because sometimes we don't want to just release things. In fact, a lot of times that's not what's best. If we are releasing something, what is best is to replace it with something else because there are neural connections to things like emotions. An emotion is really a physiological response that's happening in the brain and being sent to the body. So by simply releasing, say, an emotion or something like this energy, the body will identify that as the protective mechanisms that were up are no longer there. And so it will actually go into overdrive to protect again, causing things to recreate. So sometimes we don't want to release, we want to balance, or we want to optimize, or we want to encourage, or we want to repair. Sometimes we want to separate emotion from certain things. You'll see that as we do these session demonstrations, how that kind of works. But if you join the Global Energy Method, you'll be taught how to do all of those things and when to do them, etc. So let's see what we want to do now. We've only touched on that cortisol, and that's probably because she's at a very high level right now, and we have to address it right now in order to get to the root causes. So let's see. Client focus. Yeah, we need to go back into our cause bys. And then we are going to go ahead and continue on to find the next thing that's causing this poverty anchor. All right, this time it's going to be on the right side. Okay, we have an image energy. And we'll find out, is it absorbed, egotistical, negative, distorted, influencing? That's egotistical image energy. Now, egotistical doesn't mean that the person is egotistical. It just means that they are, a lot of times the egotistical image energy is when we're taking on blame that is not really ours. So I do want to find some more information on this particular energy. Let's see. So I'm kind of muscle testing and doing a little prayer. Just a moment. Okay. Okay, this is from around the age of 13, involving your mother. I say her because I'm talking to you. I'm recording your mother. During this event, you felt responsible for some type of emotional pain to the mother. Now, I did use intuition to get this information, but there are, in the Global Energy Method software, there's a little eye up here. And when you pull that up, it has questions. So if you're not intuitive, it gives you questions to ask to get some of this information. And then we always have this little spyglass down at the bottom right where you can click on and get more information. That's the training for the software. It's just a little search bar so you can see the training within the software. All right, so let's move on from this. We want to add that to the report. And then what we want to do is correct this image. Yeah, we want to correct that egotistical image where she's taking responsibility for emotional pain that her mother has experienced, because likely it was not her fault. And even if she had said something mean, then I'm sure she could have corrected that by now, but holding that pain or that grudge against herself. So let me go ahead and correct that image energy. We're going to use the custom correction again, but I'm going to grab I have some of my corrections kind of typed up already. So we're going to go ahead and let's So from the age of 13 involving your mother during this this event, you felt responsible. Let's save that. I had a little misspelling there. Event, you felt responsible for some type of emotional pain to the mother. I want to go ahead and put here, I want to test, did she cause the okay. I'm just muscle testing to find out a little more information. Okay. This emotional pain was unrelated to you. However, you chose to accept responsibility for it. Okay. The other thing I'm feeling here, let me muscle test to confirm. Okay. This event caused you to begin self-sabotaging behavior, including financial unwellness. This was your response to the emotion of the event. As a way to punish yourself for causing this pain, although it wasn't you. Well, I'm just going to put punish yourself. I don't want to use the word causing the pain. All right, so we're just going to do that, but then we're going to go ahead and correct this. And I do have these corrections kind of pre-typed in. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to put them in, and then I'm going to do the work just because I find that easiest. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to repair the image within the subconscious mind. I'm using neuroplasticity, energy healing techniques, and those two things, and trying to trigger the placebo response all at the same time while I make these corrections. To learn how to make these corrections, you do need the Global Energy Method certification. That you can purchase the Global Energy Method certification separately and get paper charts. But if you wanted to use the software, you can purchase the software, and the certification is included with the software purchase. So let me do these corrections. We're going to repair the image. What this does is it helps her understand, now that she's an adult, that this was not her fault. So we repair the image so she sees it as if she was an adult without that guilt. We're going to restore all context of the image to limit the negative triggers. So a lot of times when we recall events, we don't recall all of the information. We kind of create our own reality for that situation, and that will cause negative triggers because we have altered the memory within our own minds. So I'm going to restore all context of that image. Just a moment. Okay, and we're going to separate the emotional energy from the image. Now, we may need to remove this emotional energy, but when we get to the core piece, so this event, something happened with her mother. I can tell you intuitively, it felt like something happened between her mother and her father or father-like figure that was completely unrelated to her. It didn't have to do with her at all. This is what it feels like. And this event, she perceived, my client perceived it as being her fault. But truthfully, the mother and the father were having trouble. And this caused her mother, my client's mother, to have extreme emotional hardship. And it feels like even more than that, like something else happened, potentially a separation. I don't know. But children oftentimes do take on guilt when parents separate. All right, so we're also going to support the healthy release of emotional energy. Okay, yeah, she's willing to do that. We're going to support healthy processing of that image. So now what's going to happen is the image is going to restore all of that context. It's going to be repaired within the subconscious mind so it can be used properly as information for her future. But it is also going to release that emotional energy related to the event so that she can stop feeling those triggers, stop self sabotaging. All right. Now, let me encourage healthy neural connections. This is really, really important for an image or a memory or something like that. We can't just release that. It is very important we don't release it, because that image and that or that images and memories, specifically even emotions, are there to protect you. You got to remember that your mind and your body are always trying to protect you. And so we don't want to remove the protection. We just want to remove the triggers so that you can go forward with all the knowledge you've gained, but without the pain. So we're going to encourage the neural connections, healthy neural connections, so that they both keep her safe and also limit unhealthy trauma or stress triggers. Let me do that. This is usually the hardest part of this repair, because we want to create a new neural connection within the mind. And we can do this using neuroplasticity. She's a little protected with this one. She's giving a little pushback on that subconsciously. So let me first make sure it's safe to do. Okay, definitely safe to do. And then let's go ahead and do that again. Okay, what I'm getting is she feels like by letting this go, by changing these neural connections, she's losing a piece of connection with her mother. Let me check and see. Okay, so we need to secure the connection to your mom. Okay, and release or create new neural connections. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a stronger connection in a healthy way. So I'm going to strengthen the healthy connection so that I can rewire this neural connection. It's going to take me a second here. Strengthen the connection. Okay, very accepting of that. Very accepting. She loves her mother very much. And okay, and now we can create a healthy neural connection. Okay, she has had some resistance to letting this poverty anchor go, and I think this might be that piece, because this was really hard to shift for her. All right, she's connecting this with her mom, almost like it's part of their core relationship, which we definitely don't want. They can have a healthy core relationship. All right. Okay, that's done. Now we're going to balance the existing stress triggers and trauma triggers. Those are really important too. That gives a more immediate benefit. So, yep, she's very willing to do both of those now because that neural connection is done. Okay, perfect. So now we've gone ahead and we've corrected that egotistical energy. It is identifying as egotistical because she took on blame that wasn't hers. So she saw herself bigger than she was. She saw that she was more responsible than she really was. And so that is why ego stepped in. So as you can see, the report is building each and every step that we take. And we're able to go ahead and really get into the intricate pieces of the mind to help with this poverty anchor. Now, let me see if I'm able to correct the poverty anchor now. I'm getting a yes, but a little bit of resistance to it. Okay, let me see what that little resistance is. Is it something we need to address? Okay, is it okay? It's more habitual. So she has habits of overspending that she enjoys. And that is what that little resistance is. So let's go ahead and continue on from here. We can address that on the end screen when we do her repatterning. We also do positive repatterning within the global energy method. And so when we do that repatterning, what we're doing is we're offering positive energy back into the psyche. We're going to introduce positive stimuli to our client so that the psyche can look at that positive stimuli and recognize, okay, I'm in a safe place now. I can let go of all of this trigger, all of these difficult things. I can restore balance. I can find equilibrium. All right. So that is why we do that. It also really helps with the processing symptoms of the session. So anytime we do any shifts, all that energy has to shift around. So for example, within this image, I did separate the emotional energy, right? And I supported that that energy could pass. Now we could go in and address the emotions of that if her psyche will let us. Currently, what it wants to do is process this. And what will happen is now that we corrected the moment that it started, that event that caused it to start, and we separated that emotional energy, that will, during the processing time, that will go ahead and process out of our body. The energy that was used for that emotion is going to return to wherever it came from. So if the digestive system is affected, then that energy will go back there and her digestion will improve, all of those things. Whatever was affected because of that physiological change is going to correct within our processing time. Now, if her subconscious was going to allow it, let's say we had time left in the session and her subconscious was going to allow us to address the emotion, we could go in and do it for this. We could do it now, and then that's going to process much easier, much faster. But it's not required because it will process during that processing time anyway. And if anything is remaining, we can always get that at the next session. So if if the subconscious lets us, we can do it today. Normally, what the subconscious wants to do is process that work we've done. So process that image energy releasing and process the release of the poverty anchor. And then it can handle letting the rest of that go. So during the next session, we'll just double check and make sure that that emotional energy did dissipate as we expect. So I'm going to first go into affirmations and add some affirmations to her report. Something I noticed was just a lot of stress. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to search stress. Oh, and a support system. This is actually really good. People who take on the guilt of others, or the take on blame for something that's not theirs, usually don't have the strongest support system. So I want to go ahead and add that to the report. I choose to reject all new stress energy. I have peace in the future. That's good for her because she did have a significant amount of stress. And then we'll add this one, but I also want to add a custom affirmation. So let's add, I fully accept the release of of emotional energy that does not belong to me. Okay, that's important. And then I'm going to put a note here. This is just the note section for the affirmations. And I'm going to ask her to please repeat these once per day for 3 days. All right. Let's continue to the report. Now those are on my report. You can see that my custom one just was added. I had the 3 I checked, and then I had a custom one go ahead and just add as number 4. And then let's go to the positive reinforcements. Let me see. I'm going to test these and see what she needs. She needs a positive self-image. So I'm just muscle testing. She needs a sense of belonging. A sense of balance, resilience. And I'm going to add the emotional and physical balance. I don't need a note here because she doesn't have to repeat these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually install these. I'm going to do these corrections. I'm going to increase her self-image. I'll do that now. She's very willing to accept it. I'm going to increase her sense of belonging. Very willing to accept it. That it is, yeah. Increase the sense of balance. She's a little more resistant to that one. I think she has lived her life with a bit of turmoil and kind of almost finds that comforting. Okay, but we've got it. Increased the resilience to stress energy. A little resistant here too. Okay, got that. All right. Increased emotional and physical balance. Okay. Very willing to accept that. As people are usually more willing to accept some things and not others, we can get them all, but some of them take just a little bit more work. So for this particular client, she actually purchased what I sell as a simple session. So typically I wouldn't add the explanations, but I did want to show those within this video, so I'm just gonna leave those. The simple sessions don't include any encouragements, awakenings, or Reiki. So now I want to, because we're able to, can we release the poverty anchor? Okay, so now I can release the poverty anchor. All right, let me highlight this. I purposely highlight this or bold it. I'm sorry, because I want that to stand out, because that stimuli being received by the subconscious actually helps to make that happen easier, quicker, and allows that processing for her to have less processing symptoms. So let me go ahead and just make sure that poverty anchor is released. Okay. Yeah. So there was a little bit of resistance there because of those habits. So I'm going to encourage healthy spending habits. And I'm going to encourage comfort in peaceful environments. because these are two things that she is not used to. Oops, I like to use the past tense. So when they read it, they see that I did that work. So let me do those two things. Okay. This one was good, but I could almost feel like the energy of like a workaround where, okay, she's going to spend on healthy things, but still spend too much maybe. So we're going to also encourage healthy savings ability. Okay. Because I could almost feel her um like take that, but then find excuses. So let's do that. And then encourage comfort and peaceful environments. Okay, wonderful. All right, so processing time. Okay, 5 days. All right, and then we're going to write a summary for her. So what did we do today? In summary. So today I've been working with this client for quite some time, and we've already been working on um, her poverty anchor. So it was already part the way done when we started today's session. So today I was able to finish your poverty anchor release. There was an event from the age of 13 involving your mother where you accepted blame for her emotional pain. In this event, the pain was not your fault and had nothing to do with you directly. However, you began self-sabotaging behaviors as a way to punish yourself. I've corrected that for you today, and expect you to gain better financial stability starting in about 5 days. This type of release also supports other healthier habits like improved self-care, and lessened self-sabotaging. I recommend we do a subconscious guided session around self-sabotaging. I spelled it wrong. Sabotaging to find out if there are other areas, not financial, where you have these habits and correct those. All right. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you, Lisa. All right. So there we go. That's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and save and download this report for my client. And then I'm going to stop sharing here and show you the report. So let me show you the report. Just a sec. Let me grab it. Let's see if it came up. There we go. There is the report, the software created for us. And so here we go. I do have the client's name protected here. And then we can see that we have the client focus is a continuation of the poverty anchor. It was a psychological imbalance caused by a block energy, specifically a poverty energetic anchor. What was causing the poverty energetic anchor was some stress energy that we had to address before we could get this very strong egotistical image energy from around the age of 13 involving her mother. We've talked about that, so you're familiar with it, but you can see how the report has been generated and come up. Now, this particular client also likes to have a translated report. So I am going to go to Google Translate real quick, and I am going to put that document. I'm going to put this document into Google Translate in about 2 to 3 seconds. Whoops, I need to translate this. We're going to translate to Spanish. All right, there we go. There's our report. And now I will share with you how now, within just a couple seconds, we have a Spanish report for her. I think, no, here it is. No, yeah, I think this is it. Let me just check and make sure pulled up. Yep, there we go. So here we go. It is now a Spanish report. And so we can go ahead and send her. I like to send her both the English and the Spanish. So there we go. We have in just that little bit of time. Now, it does take me more time to explain to you guys all these different steps. If I wasn't explaining it, it would take far less time, probably about half the time. But there you go. In just a little bit of time, we have a session done. Now, it was just finishing something, but then we have a professional report, and we can translate it to whatever language we want to and get that to our clients. Okay, my friends, if you have questions, you can reach out to Lisa at globalenergymethod.com. If you want to know more about the Global Energy Method certification, you can go to www.globalenergymethod.com, and you'll be able to see that there's a link for the certification there. If you want to try out the software, you can get a 30-day free trial of the Global Energy Method software at www.globalenergymethod.com/free trial. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.